He said he had spoken with you about me, and so I'm calling as a result of that referral. I'm trying to get started. I'm new to this. So he told me to call you.
Excellent, excellent. The best thing I can do is show you the set-asides, the contracts that are set aside for small businesses. Primarily, that's the largest.
Okay.
And then there's contracts that are set aside for women and for veterans and minorities, Native Americans. We're going to look at that first.
Okay.
And are you familiar with the term simplified acquisition?
No.
Okay. That's okay. We'll come to that next because that's changed a lot in the last 3 years anyway. Set-asides are real simple. 23% of the entire federal budget, which is, it's, who knows what it'll be this year. It can be trillions. It's mind-boggling. 23% of it is set aside for small businesses. Rarely do any of the agencies hit that amount. Some of them do. Some of them do every year. Some of them do sometimes, and some of them have never hit it because it's, you know, you're talking a lot of money that's going to a very small percentage of businesses. 23% of the federal budget going to small businesses. When there's, in the grand scheme of things, if you look at just the basic SAM system, you have to be registered in this system to get paid. So everyone who's doing business with the government, it has to be in SAM or they can't get paid. Okay, that's the primary.
Yeah, I'm in SAM.
You're in SAM. Okay, awesome.
So I'm in SAM.
So you know,
yeah, I'm in SAM.
You know, you've been through the process. You know, just that part alone is difficult. But that the reason why, right now, there's 1.2 million for-profit vendors in SAM. Over a million, 1.2, but over 900,000 of those are inactive. So only 337,000 businesses, active for-profit vendors in SAM right now. Less than 350,000 are active. More than half of those are big business. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I will never tell you anything you want to hear. I'm going to give you facts. More than half of those are big business. But let's just say, for argument's sake, half are big, half are small. So say 160, 170,000 small businesses, right, that are active at the most. In the grand scheme of things, that's nothing compared to the fact that in the United States, there's almost 30 million small businesses.
Yeah.
And just a little over
so
150,000 are doing, are not even guaranteed they're doing business with the government. That's just because they're active in the system. So if you take that math, those statistics, and you figure 150,000 small businesses that are active, there's no way 150,000 businesses could share 23% of trillions of dollars. So some agencies hit it, some don't. Your small business set aside,
and is there any accountability, John, is there any accountability then for if they're supposed to be using small businesses, if they don't hit the number, what's the accountability for not hitting the number?
It's different for each agency. It's different for the requirements. Some agencies, you know, because each agency is in charge of itself. Some agencies are pushing harder. Some are saying, look, if you don't hit this, we're going to cut bonuses and things that they would normally get. That doesn't happen as much because it's hard to take money from people for not doing something that they're supposed to do. There's some real shady areas there. So mostly what they do is if they don't spend all the money in their budget each year, they lose money out of their budget next year, which means they don't get to buy as much stuff as they did. So it's kind of a weird combination of you know, if you don't spend it all, you're going to lose it. If you don't hit 23%, we're going to cut your budget. I can actually show you an example. Watch this. This is a letter from Obama basically telling the purchasing and procurement agents, if you don't hit 23%, we're going to cut your budget.
Okay.
It's called no bid facts right there.
Okay.
I'll make this thing bigger somehow. Should be able to.
Yeah.
Make me get my readers out.
Okay.
All right. I got my readers on. We're good. This is an actual letter from Obama's office. Yeah, this is back in 2012. Because in 2010, In 2010, that's when they passed the ARRA. In 2008, the housing fell apart, the economy fell apart. They were going to save the economy. In 2010, they came up with the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act to save the economy. They were going to guarantee 23% of the federal budget to small businesses. Sounded great, right?
Right.
On paper, it was great, but in theory, again, you're asking 23% of the budget to be shared with a couple 100,000 small businesses that they couldn't afford it. Back then, they would have to do the work up front and get paid 60 or 90 days later. No small business can afford that with those size contracts.
Right.
So in 2012, when Obama sent this letter out and said, I'm going to cut your budget if you don't do what we're asking, the purchasing agents responded with, you might as well just go ahead and cut it because it's impossible. You have the rule of two. See that right there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The rule of two meant if they couldn't get at least 2 quotes, 2 fair bids, they couldn't award it. Because how are you supposed to know if you got a fair quote unless you get a second quote? Well, that's a great idea, but in theory, if you don't have very many small businesses registered, you can't always get a second quote because there's not always a second small business registered within the service area to get a second quote, so they wouldn't give it to a small business. It would wind up going to a big business anyway. So the rule of two was in the way.
Right.
So Obama said, okay, the rule of two is no longer mandatory. If it cannot be met, as long as they can compare the price to what the government has paid for that product in the past, and the price is fair based on what they paid before, they can award it without getting a second quote. Now, you know as well as I do, as intelligent people, some people on this planet are a little lazy, and if you tell them they don't have to do something, they're not going to do it unless they have to, right? The rule of two, it's no longer mandatory, so it's rarely used. You're rarely going to see more than one offer received on a simplified acquisition. It's mind-boggling.
Okay.
But I'm going to show you the system to look in next, okay? The second thing,
all right,
there was a threshold. They had to award 23% of $1 trillion budget to small businesses, and they had to do it $25,000 or less at a time. I can't even do the math in my head. I should be able to because I'm a very intelligent person, but doing trillions of dollars, $25,000 at a time is statistically impossible. So they increased that limit. See where the threshold right here is 150,000 now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It went to 250 to 500 to 800 to 1 million to 1.5 to 3 to 7. It's 8 million right now is the threshold on small businesses, women, minorities, and veterans. That's the threshold, is 8 million.
Okay. Okay.
My screen got
threshold means threshold means no higher than that or no lower than that.
Correct.
What's the threshold?
Correct. That's the cap, the threshold.
The cap. Okay.
The cap. Yep. Now they can go over that, and you're going to see in the system I'm going to show you next where they actually do go over that.
Okay.
Okay. That's your small business threshold. Now remember, you got a minority set aside, you have a woman set aside, a veteran set aside, you have a service disabled veteran set aside, you have the 8A, and you have the hub zone. Are you a veteran?
No, my husband's a veteran. My husband is both a veteran and a service. He just got his certification for service disabled veteran, so he's just got both of those.
Okay, and he's also a minority.
He is.
Okay. You can, as a veteran-owned business, he's going to have to physically be majority owner. He's going to have to physically run it every day. So if he wanted to start a business and do business with the government, I could definitely help him. If you have an existing business and you're wanting to make him majority owner to be veteran-owned, he would physically have to run it. Because if they ever find out that he's on it, but he's doing something else and you're running it, and you're not technically veteran-owned because he's not really running the business, we could get in trouble. And I'm going to teach you how to stay away from trouble.
No, I don't want to be, trouble is not my last name. So he has his own business.
Okay.
He has his own business and his own thing because he had said to me, he said, maybe I should talk to John as well. I'm like, cool. So he's doing his own thing. He's doing stuff in food service, and I don't even cook. So that's his own thing, and then I have my own thing.
Okay. Well,
so I have
here's
my
the
own thing too. So.
As a woman, like I said earlier, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to give you facts, and I'm going to tell you things you don't want to hear. But as a woman, there's 69,000 women in the system right now. There's more women businesses, small businesses, and that's a good thing, amen. But That means there's that much more competition than in the other categories. Minorities, there's over 60,000 minorities in the system that are sharing that 5%. There's almost 70,000 women sharing that 5%, but veterans, only 40,000. There's almost half as many veterans as women, which means they're getting twice as much out of the system. Of course, the service-disabled veteran, you know, they get another 3%, and we're talking 3% of trillions. It's only shared by 16,000 service-disabled veterans. But here's you right here, you're 8A. The minority status is nothing because of the competition and the size. The 8A gets the same 5%, but there's only 5,300 8As worldwide. So if you can get in that category in the long term, this is where you're going to really be successful.
Yeah, and I'm not 8A right now, but I'm going through the certification for women because that's where I can go right now.
You're doing the w.o.s.b right now?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Yeah, I'm in the middle of doing that one right now.
Have you looked into the hubzone?
No, I haven't, but I understand that the office has to be within a hub zone, and where I am right now is not within a hub zone. But I know where the hub zone is here in Jacksonville.
Okay. There is, if you set up an office in like an incubator type setting, those are legal. And a lot of incubators, they create facilities in a hub zone just for that. So that's one way around it.
Right.
But of course, eventually, the other part is that you have to live, 35% of your employees have to live in a hub zone. So if you're working out of your home and your home's not in a hub zone, then you're still not going to qualify without having 35% of your employees living in the hub zone.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem, though. So I could, because you're talking to the only employee of the company right now. So,
right.
But I don't live in a hub zone, so that's did me. And I can't do 8A right now because of income things going on right now. So women is about the only thing I can do. I made too much. I had a severance package that I got, which pushed me over the limit. So,
Gotcha.
You know, that'll go away.
Nothing wrong with that.
That'll go away over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep. And you can, we can plan for that. We can plan for it as a long-term solution, which I do. Most of my clients have been with me 3 or 4 years. I mean, I've had Wells Fargo Bank, the company, Wells Fargo Bank. Their senior vice president of government relations has been my client for 4 years. And they only have me, they're only my client because they want my advice every now and then. They want to know if they have a question, they can call me. And they've called me once in the last 4 years, you know. A long-term solution, you can also, just to throw it out there, I've had clients that own too many assets. They had children. They were going to give the assets to them in the will anyway. They just gave them to them now. I've had clients that have taken some assets and put them in the business name. That's legal too. You can put your personal assets in your business assets because that can be up to $4 million. And there's nothing illegal about that, you know. So there's ways we can work on the 8A for a long-term solution. Now, I'm going to ask you a question probably no one has asked you so far. Have you done a DNA test?
No.
No?
No.
No. Okay.
Do I need to?
You can do one through ancestry.com. Ancestry, the website. It's like less than $100. It takes them 6 weeks to get the results. There's no needles involved. They actually put saliva in a little jar. And if you're more than 1% Native American, which a lot of people are and don't know it, some tribes, you can get a tribal card with as little as 1% Native American blood in you. And a lot of people have 1%, don't know it. So that's going to be the next thing I'll suggest. The only other area that I'm going to be able to help you out with that you're not already on the ball is getting set up for simplified acquisitions.
Okay.
I want to show you those now. The system I'm going to show you, you can find them in. You can write it down, or I'll email you the links. You don't have to write it down. It's real simple. This is the system where they, let me show you back here one more time. When a federal purchasing agent does this 23%, when an agency hits this mark, they can prove it because every time they hire a small business, they'll post it in this one system to show that they're hiring small businesses. Okay. But you were a math major, right? You did really well in math.
Yeah. Right. Hello. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I do really well with the calculator.
Actually, it's not real difficult math I'm going to give you. If you imagine let's say this one agency, they've got a $100 million budget, and they're supposed to spend $23 million of that, 23% of that with a small business. Well, let's say they hire one small business, and they give that one small business a $23 million contract. Well, then that one agency hit their 23% small business requirement for the entire year with just one contract. So when they post that one contract in the system and prove they've hit that 23%, remember I said earlier, it's generally people are lazy. If they don't have to do it, they won't. Once they hit the 23%, they're not required to continue to show how much more small business they hired, because it doesn't matter if they do over. They just have to do at least that. So in that scenario, that agency hit the 23%, but when you look at the records, you're like, well, there was only one contract awarded by this agency the entire year for a small business. That's crazy, because it was probably way more than that. But you see what I'm saying? The system we're going to look at only tracks a small percentage of the spending. It's about 7%. And you're not going to find any one database that shows all the money that the government has paid out. You'll never find that in one place. So this one, just figure 10% rule when we look at this database.
Okay.
Federal procurement data system. If you could sell anything to the government, not just what you do now, but if you could sell something that just make you happy, just tickle your pink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'd sell PR and communication services. That makes sense.
One more time.
Public relations.
Oh,
and
yeah,
communication specifically in healthcare.
Yeah, I can relate to that completely, because I love to sing, and that's part of my public relations. I just, you'll never find, I just sing.
Well, you know what? You are a really good cross between Barry White and what's the other guy that used to sing that song? Barry White and Lou Rawls, yeah.
Lou Rawls,
absolutely.
yeah. Lou Rawls is awesome. He had a style all his own, and so did Barry White. They were, they weren't your typical the Temptations. They were we're different,
Yeah, but I mean, you could do a Barry White. You could do a really good Barry White.
My first, my last, my everything.
Oh baby, right? Oh, I used to have a close colleague who said anytime you wanted to beg, he just channeled Barry White.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
Music is my life. I love music, and I have musical Tourette's. I sing all the time out of the blue. Just so public relations, you can actually search it right here in the search window. And you can see right now there's 37,685 contracts in the system under public relations currently. And this is only showing us less than 10% of the total spending. So that means if we're seeing 37,000 contracts in here, there's 380,000 contracts that have been awarded. We're only seeing this small percentage. Okay?
Right.
We were talking about W.o.s.b. What you're going to see on the W.o.s.b. obviously makes sense. You're going to see more bidders. You're going to see less simplified acquisitions. So this contract for over $3 million, actually not too bad. There was 3 bidders on this one. It was full and open competition. 3 people bid on it. And it wasn't done as a simplified acquisition, but it was awarded to a woman-owned, minority-owned small business, and they were actually given a little over $3 million up front to start. They'll collect $10 million total when they finish it through 2017.
Okay.
But that's not common. Usually there's. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was going to say that's not common, though, is it?
No, usually there's way more bidders than that, and the contracts are within the hundreds of thousands. Let's look at this one right here. This one was awarded 31st, so 2 days ago. Excuse me, Monday.
Halloween.
Excuse me.